I was in the hospital in serious condition when I heard my brother say he's not gonna get better. It's time to use his money. My mom just shrugged her shoulders. What can I take from him? I didn't move, even though every word was etched into my memory. And in the morning my phone wouldn't stop ringing with their calls. They had lost everything. I never thought my life would unravel while I was unconscious in a hospital bed. My name's Tyler. I'm 33. And up until a few weeks ago, I thought I had a dysfunctional family but not a malicious one. I thought they were just messy, unreliable people who leaned on me a little too much. But now I know better. Now I know they were waiting like vultures, just circling, ready to pick apart my life the second they thought I couldn't fight back. Let me start from the top. I've always been the responsible one. The glue guy. While my older brother, Nate, blew his money on sports betting and crashed at random friends' places every other month, I was working overtime shifts at the warehouse, skipping weekends off and saving every cent. My mom, Deborah, hasn't worked in years. She floats between guilt-tripping and gaslighting whenever she needs money for bills, which usually means weed or subscription boxes. My younger sister, Kelsey, is 28 and drowning in credit card debt because she lives like an influencer but works as a part-time barista. Me? I've been grinding since I was 18. Took on 2 jobs out of high school, skipped college because I couldn't afford it, and slowly, painfully managed to save up just under $96,000. That was going to be my down payment. My ticket to a house. A real place of my own after years of renting crappy apartments and riding the bus to work because I couldn't justify buying a car. That dream ended 3 weeks ago. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I work in logistics. Something went wrong with a piece of equipment. It fell. Landed on me. The next thing I remember is, well, nothing. Apparently, I was rushed to the ER with severe head trauma, several broken ribs, and internal bleeding. The doctors put me in a medically induced coma due to brain swelling. What they don't tell you about comas, and I sure as hell didn't know, is that sometimes your brain doesn't shut off. You're stuck. You can't speak. You can't move. Your eyes are closed. But your mind? Oh, it's awake. Fully awake. Trapped. The first couple days were a blur. I heard vague noises, voices that came and went. My mom sobbing. Nate pacing and grumbling about how it's bad, real bad. Kelsey saying she was praying for me. But on day 4, everything changed. I remember the moment like it just happened. The nurse had just left after checking my vitals. The room got quiet. Then I heard footsteps, heavier ones, come closer to my bed. And Nate, in a low voice, said, "He's not gonna make it. We should figure out his finances now." I thought I was hallucinating. But then my own mother said, "Yeah, he won't need it anyway." They started talking about my bank accounts. My investments. How to get into my online banking. Nate said something about getting power of attorney. And Mom, like she was reading a recipe, said the doctor said his brain's damaged. Even if he wakes up, he won't remember anything. I was frozen. Not physically, that part was already true, but emotionally. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe what I was hearing. Kelsey, bless her for that brief moment of humanity, said, "Guys, this feels wrong." But Nate shut her down fast. "You're buried in debt, Kels. This solves everything." He would have wanted us to be okay. I wanted to scream. To flinch. To blink. Anything. But I couldn't move a single muscle. So instead, I counted. I stared at the back of my eyelids and started counting the tiny bumps I could feel in the hospital bed. I tracked the sound of Mom's tacky plastic bracelets clicking together as she held my limp hand. I smelled Nate's gum and beer breath mixing into this nauseating cloud. I focused on anything just to not go insane. That $96,000 wasn't just money. It was my life. It was every 12-hour shift. Every vacation I skipped. Every time I said no to delivery and ate rice and eggs for dinner. Every winter I stood waiting for a bus while they sat warm in their apartments or bailed on me last minute. And now they were trying to steal it from me while I was lying there, dying. They thought I couldn't hear. They thought I was gone. But I heard every single word. Over the next few days, their visits turned into planning sessions. Nate kept whispering about getting a friend to help sort out the paperwork. Mom was talking about how she wanted to finally redo her kitchen, maybe even replace the countertops. Kelsey didn't say much, but she was there. And she didn't stop them. They talked casually. Like I was already dead. Nate even joked once, "Hey, maybe we cremate him, cheaper." And then laughed. Mom giggled. Kelsey didn't laugh. But she didn't leave either. The worst part? This wasn't new. Just more extreme. Last year, when Mom's roof started leaking, who paid the $7,000 for repairs? Me. When Nate got arrested during a bar fight and needed bail, I forked over $2,200. When Kelsey's car died on the freeway, I Venmo'd her $3,300 to fix it. No one ever paid me back. Not once. And I never pressed. Because I was the good one. The dependable one. The idiot. Now I was a target. I remember crying actual, physical tears even though I couldn't open my eyes. One of the nurses, Melanie, noticed. She gently wiped my face and said, "It's okay, sweetheart. Coma patients sometimes respond physically. It's normal." If only she knew what I just heard. On the 7th day, the energy in the room changed. The doctor came in with my family and said something that I'll never forget. "We're seeing signs of cognitive response. Brain swelling's gone down. We're going to begin the process of waking him." The silence that followed felt like a punch in the stomach. No cheering. No real joy. Just dead silence for a few seconds. Then Mom fake sobbed, "Oh, thank God, a miracle," while Nate asked questions like, "Will there be memory issues? Cognitive stuff? Permanent damage?" Right then, I made a decision. I wasn't going to say a word. Not yet. I'd pretend. I'd act like I remembered nothing. I'd play dumb, play weak. And while they thought they still had the upper hand, I'd plan everything. That night, the nurse, a new one, named Vanessa, was checking my four. I don't know how I did it, but I managed to squeeze her hand. Just barely. She froze. "Did you just?" Another tiny squeeze. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Can you hear me?" Squeeze. "Are you aware when your family visits?" Another squeeze. A long one. She didn't say much after that. But as she turned away, she paused and said, "Okay. I'm going to help you. I promise." Maybe she'd seen this kind of thing before. Maybe it was just a gut feeling. But I knew I had an ally now. The next morning, the doctors began the slow process of pulling me out of the coma. They told my family it could take a week or more to fully regain function. I played right into that. Slurred words. Confused eyes. Repeating the same questions. "What day is it? Where am I?" Nate smiled a little too wide every time I asked something dumb. Mom looked downright relieved. Kelsey, she looked like she was trying not to cry. Vanessa, she slipped me my phone when no one was watching. Said she had a brother who went through something similar. That families can get ugly fast. That she had my back. I don't know if I'll ever be able to repay her for that. And now? I'm writing this from my hospital bed. Alone. Finally alone. Vanessa said she'd give me 20 minutes under the excuse of some tests. My hands are still weak. My legs barely move. But my mind? It's sharper than it's ever been. They think I'm broken. They think they can take what's mine. But they have no idea. My friend Elijah is coming tomorrow. He's the only person I trust right now. He's smart, like cybersecurity smart. And we're going to figure out exactly how to protect my accounts before they make their next move. I've got 2 weeks left in this place before discharge. 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to turn the tables. Let's see how they like it when the vegetable starts fighting back. When Elijah walked into my hospital room the next day, I almost cried. And I don't mean the single, dignified tear kind of cry. I mean full-on, overwhelmed, can't catch my breath sobbing. But I held it in. Just barely. He's been my best friend since we were 15. We met in a community center summer program for kids whose families couldn't afford actual vacations. I remember he was the only one who didn't make fun of me for bringing peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day. He just offered to trade snacks and said, "PB&J beats cafeteria spaghetti any day." That's Elijah. Real. Solid. When he stepped into the room, I gave him the smallest nod I could manage. His eyes locked on mine, and I saw him freeze for a second like he was trying to figure out if he imagined it. Vanessa had texted him from my phone. I had left it unlocked under my pillow while my family was out getting lunch, aka probably checking my mail or asking my bank questions they weren't authorized to ask. She had typed, "This is Nurse Vanessa. Tyler is awake. He remembers everything. Come now. And be discreet." He came. No questions. No hesitation. When the door closed, I whispered, "I need your help." And without even blinking, Elijah said, "I figured. Tell me everything." So I did. Every word I'd heard in that coma. Every sickening joke. Every dollar they were planning to siphon. I told him about Nate's power of attorney idea, Mom's Pinterest kitchen dreams, Kelsey's hesitant silence. I laid it all out. Through clenched teeth, shallow breaths, and white-hot rage. He didn't interrupt. Just nodded. His face darkened with every sentence. By the end, he looked like he'd aged 10 years in an hour. "Jesus, Ty," he whispered. "They were waiting for you to die." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. We both knew it was true. "Okay," he said finally, shifting gears. "First thing we're gonna do is secure your finances. Then we'll build a digital trap. If they try anything, we'll catch it." Let me pause and explain something about Elijah. He works in cybersecurity for a private firm that contracts with banks. The man knows digital security like I know where to find the cheapest instant noodles. Within 20 minutes, he had changed every password I had: banking, email, phone backups, even my streaming accounts. Then he created entirely new email addresses, hidden backups, and set up alerts that would ping him if anyone tried to reset anything. But the real brilliance came next. "We're going to give them exactly what they're looking for," he said, cracking his knuckles. "A fake digital footprint. Controlled, curated, and just convincing enough to be believable." I raised an eyebrow. "Decoy accounts. We'll make a fake banking interface. Looks real, smells real, but it's all fluff. The balances will be close to what you had. When they check it, it'll look just like the real thing. But the real money, it'll be somewhere else." It was brilliant. They were greedy. And greedy people stop thinking when they think they've won. By the time visiting hours ended, Elijah had installed a secure app on my phone that mimicked my bank's app interface perfectly. The displayed checking balance, $88,400. Savings, $26,750. Enough to make them salivate, not enough to raise suspicion. Meanwhile, my actual money had already been moved into a brand new credit union account under a business name Elijah helped me register. Completely private. Completely legal. Completely invisible to my family. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The next 3 days were like watching a slow-motion car crash. I played dumb, smiled vaguely, slurred my speech just enough to make them think the accident had left permanent damage. I asked the same questions over and over. "Wait, what day is it again? What happened to me? Have I been out long?" Nate was eating it up. He'd pat my shoulder like some big-hearted protector and say things like, "You're safe now, bro. We got you." Mom would bring in disgusting homemade casseroles, that were definitely store-bought, and stroke my hair like I was 5 years old. Kelsey mostly stayed quiet, but she visited daily. She'd sit by my side and scroll Instagram while biting her nails. I started recording everything. Elijah had set up my phone to automatically record audio when I pressed the volume down button 3 times in a row. Simple, quick, discreet. What I captured was damning. Nate talking to Mom. "Once he's home, I'll get him to sign the rest. It'll be easier if he stays with me." Mom replying, "Just get those passwords. I'm not getting any younger. And neither is this house." Kelsey whispering once when they thought I was asleep, "Are we really doing this? What if he remembers?" Nate, "He won't. And even if he does, it's our word against a brain-damaged guy's." I couldn't believe the words coming out of their mouths. They weren't just waiting for me to die. They were strategizing how to profit from my survival too. And they weren't even subtle about it anymore. On the 4th day, Nate brought paperwork. Real, physical paperwork. Power of attorney forms. He waited until the nurse left and then sat by my bed, all concerned. "Ty, I know you're still recovering and everything's confusing, but I talked to the doc and this would make things easier for all of us, you know? Just until you're back to 100%. He laid the pen in my hand like he was doing me a favor. I looked at him with wide, foggy eyes. "You sure?" I croaked. "Of course, man," he smiled. "Family's got your back." I signed the documents with my left hand. I'm right-handed, and instead of writing my full legal name, I misspelled my middle name by 1 letter, deliberately. The signature wouldn't hold up under scrutiny. Elijah had coached me perfectly. Later that night, Vanessa slipped into the room and whispered, "Did they bring anything for you to sign?" I nodded weakly. She sighed. "Let me guess, power of attorney?" I gave her the faintest smile. She patted my hand. "We'll make sure it doesn't stand." Vanessa had already gone above and beyond for me. But that week she took it to another level. She arranged for a notary, someone she trusted, to come in during a night shift and help me sign a real power of attorney in Elijah's name. Fully legal. Fully protected. Meanwhile, my family had no clue. They still thought I was a vegetable with a wallet. The weirdest moment came on the 6th day after I started regaining full speech. Kelsey pulled me aside when Mom and Nate went to the cafeteria. She sat at the edge of my bed, nervously twisting a hair tie around her fingers. "Ty, are you really okay?" I nodded slowly. "Still fuzzy, but I'm getting there." She looked down. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I know things have been complicated. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think maybe she was different, that maybe she didn't belong in the same category as Nate and Mom. But then I remembered her sitting by the bed that 4th day. Quiet, present, not objecting, not walking away. She might not have held the knife, but she didn't stop them either. I just nodded and said, "Thanks, Kels." By the end of week 2, I was cleared for discharge. Elijah had arranged for me to stay at his place, but we needed a few days to finalize the last step of the plan. So I agreed, with a fake smile and wide, grateful eyes, to go home with Nate. "It'll be easier than your 3rd-floor walk-up, right?" He grinned. "You can crash on my couch while you heal up." He wanted 24/7 access to me, to my phone, my brain, my accounts, and I gave it to him, on a silver platter, just not the way he thought. I kept up the act until the very last minute. They think I'm stupid. They think they've won. But I've spent the last 2 weeks pretending to be broken while building a cage around them. The trap is set. Tomorrow the game changes. Nate's apartment was worse than I remembered. Way worse. The moment I stepped through the door, leaning on a crutch with Elijah's help, I was hit by the unmistakable stench of stale beer, something burnt, and a hint of body spray that had clearly been used in place of an actual shower. Dishes were stacked high in the sink, some with green fuzz on them. Empty pizza boxes and energy drink cans littered the floor, like trash had just become part of the furniture. "This is temporary," Nate said, sweeping an arm across the disaster zone like he was giving me a tour of a model home. "You know, until you're back on your feet." "Mi casa, bro." I forced a smile and said thank you. I felt like I needed to Lysol my soul just being there. But I wasn't here to feel comfortable. I was here to finish what we'd started. Elijah had dropped me off and helped me set up a backup phone, one Nate didn't know about. My real phone, the one with the fake banking app and the recording setup, stayed within reach 24/7. I kept it under my pillow or on my lap at all times. Nate didn't even question it. I'd already sold the confused, helpless routine to perfection. And he was buying it. Hook, line, and sinker. That first night he tried to play caretaker. He offered me frozen chicken tenders for dinner, which he microwaved until the edges were like bricks. Then he sat on the other end of the couch and scrolled his phone endlessly, occasionally pausing to glance at me like he was checking if I was still breathing. I faked drowsiness from the medication and pretended to doze off. Around 11 p.m., I heard him slip into the kitchen and start whispering on the phone. "No, I've got him here now." "Yeah. Nah, it's gonna happen. By Friday, I swear." A pause. "I know what I said, Dave. I'll get you the full amount. Interest too. Just don't send anyone. I'm handling it." I didn't move a muscle. Just kept breathing slow and steady. But inside, my heart was hammering so hard I was sure he could hear it. Debt. Big enough debt to make him act desperate. And me? I was his cash cow. The next day, Mom and Kelsey came over. They brought homemade dinner, which I watched her pull out of a DoorDash bag from the window before they walked in. Classy move. Mom was practically glowing. She kept showing me Pinterest boards on her phone of tile patterns and affordable luxe countertops. "What do you think of this one, honey?" she asked, holding up a photo of some marble backsplash. "I guess it's nice?" I said, playing along. She smiled sweetly. "Just trying to get some ideas for, when things settle. I've waited so long to redo my kitchen. Figured this might be the year." That's when I knew. She'd already made plans. Spent money that wasn't hers, probably assuming it would be soon. Kelsey didn't say much that visit. But at one point she was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a notification pop up on her screen. It was from her credit card company, payment of $11,000 received. I kept my face blank, but I knew what it meant. She'd used my money to pay off her debts. Or so she thought. That night, I gave Nate the login to the Decoy banking app. I've just been having trouble with numbers and stuff, I mumbled. Can you help me make sure my bills are getting paid? He practically lunged for my phone. I watched his eyes widen as the fake account loaded. $88,223 in checking. $26,750 in savings. His mouth actually dropped open. He tried to hide it, but I saw it, the spark. The calculation. The greed. Yeah, man, he said, trying to sound casual. Yeah, I can totally help out. He spent the next 20 minutes scrolling through the app like it was a menu and he was picking dinner. I played dumb, asked what a routing number was again, and then forgot my PIN halfway through a conversation. Every time I leaned into the clueless act, he leaned in further. I was sick with anger, but I smiled through it. Later that afternoon, while Nate was running errands, probably meeting Dave, I slipped out to meet Elijah at a coffee shop down the street. My legs were still weak from weeks in bed, but adrenaline kept me moving. We sat in the corner booth. I had my phone. He had his laptop. Everything's ready, Elijah said. The moment he tries to move money, the app will trigger a fake transfer approved screen. After that, it'll show a fraud alert and lock him out. He'll think he moved the funds, but nothing will actually happen. And the real money? I asked. Safe. Unreachable. Bulletproof. I exhaled slowly. Okay, let's end this. The final moment came the next morning. I was sitting on the couch in Nate's filthy apartment when he walked in holding 2 gas station coffees and an envelope. He handed me one of the coffees and sat across from me. Hey, man. I've been meaning to ask. You know, since I've been covering for you, rides, food, meds and all that, I was wondering if I could, just temporarily transfer a little money to my account. Just to cover some stuff. Like 15 grand. He said it like he was asking to borrow a pair of socks. I looked at him with wide, grateful eyes and said, of course. Family helps family, right? He grinned. I opened the app, fumbled the login twice, then remembered the password and logged in. I input his account number, typed in $15,000 and hit the big green transfer button. Success, the screen said. Funds will arrive in 1 to 2 business days. He actually hugged me. His arms were damp with sweat and he reeked of whatever cheap cologne he'd sprayed over his body odor. I patted his back and said, thanks for taking care of me. It was all I could do not to punch him. An hour later, I was at Elijah's house. The second I stepped through the door, I dropped the crutch and practically collapsed on the couch. Elijah had a glass of water and a phone charger waiting for me. We wait, he said. It didn't take long. 26 hours after the fake transfer, the first text came in. Nate, hey, man, can you check your app? The money didn't hit my account. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, it's prob just a delay, right? Nothing to worry about. Then, Tyler. Dude. WTF? Can you answer? An hour later, for missed calls. Then my mom, Ty, honey, there's something weird going on with your accounts. Call me as soon as you can. Then, are you okay? Then, did something happen to your money? Then Kelsey, can we talk? Like now. By the time I turned off the phone, I had 37 missed calls and 22 text messages. And here's the best part. While I was radio silent, they all assumed the money had gone through. Nate had dropped a deposit on a brand new truck. Mom had scheduled contractors to start her kitchen remodel the following week. Kelsey had made 3 large payments to her credit cards and posted a story on Instagram with a caption that read, fresh starts. Debt-free. Ready for what's next. Sparkles flexed biceps. They spent money that didn't exist. On dreams built on lies. 2 days later, I texted Nate. Hey. Sorry. Feeling kinda out of it. What's going on? His reply came in less than a minute. Dude. Your bank's frozen. I can't get in. They flagged the account or something. Then a stream of texts. You need to call them. Did you change something? This is serious, man. I replied, we should meet. Let's talk. I picked Mom's house for the meeting. Neutral ground. I walked in on my own, no crutch this time. They were all already there, Nate pacing, Mom holding a tissue to her nose, Kelsey looking like she was about to be sick. We sat at the table. For 20 minutes, I let them talk. They spun theories, made excuses, played the confused card. Maybe it's a system error. Maybe your accounts got hacked. We're just worried about you. Then I pulled out my phone. Pressed play. And their voices filled the room. He's not gonna make it. We should just take his money now. He won't need it anyway. The air got sucked out of the room. Mom went pale. Nate froze. Kelsey burst into tears. I let the recordings play. Every visit. Every scheme. Every word they thought I couldn't hear. When the last one ended, I looked at them and said I was awake. I heard everything. They stared at me like I was a ghost. The accounts you thought you accessed? They were fake. My real money is safe. You're never getting a dime. Nate exploded. You set us up. You tricked us. I looked him dead in the eyes. You were going to rob me while I was in a coma. And you're mad that I outsmarted you. Mom broke into sobs, wailing about family and forgiveness and how she was just being practical. Kelsey said nothing. Just kept crying. I stood up, walked to the door, then turned back. You showed me who you are. And now you get to live with it. And I walked out. I wish I could tell you I walked out of my mom's house that day feeling triumphant, like I'd finally won. But the truth is, it felt more like a funeral. Not the dramatic, crying over a casket kind. More like the quiet kind where you realize someone died long before their body stopped breathing. That kind of grief, the one that wraps around your lungs and makes you feel hollow inside. I walked to Elijah's car in silence. He was parked down the street, just in case I needed backup. He didn't say anything when I got in. Just handed me a bottle of water and let me sit in silence for a while. They tried to drain over 47 grand, I finally said, staring out the window. The second they thought I was weak. He nodded. They weren't just ready to do it, they planned it. We drove to his place. Quiet. No music. No conversation. I needed the stillness. I spent the next few days on his couch trying to figure out how I actually felt. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't relieved. I was emptied out. I'd always known my family was messy, selfish, even manipulative at times. But I thought deep down that there was some line they wouldn't cross. Turns out there wasn't. Within a week, the consequences started to roll in. Nate's truck financing fell through. Apparently, when the dealership tried to process the final payment, the card bounced and he couldn't come up with the rest. They took the deposit and he lost the vehicle. Mom had to cancel her kitchen renovation. She'd already put down a non-refundable $9,000 deposit. The contractors moved on to the next client. Kelsey's credit card payments were reversed once the pending transaction got flagged as suspicious. Her accounts went right back into collections. The messages started pouring in. Nate, you ruined everything. You think you're the good guy? You're a snake. Mom, I'm your mother. How could you do this to me? Kelsey's was the hardest to read. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so sorry. I should have stopped them. I didn't answer any of them. I changed my number the next day. Elijah helped me port everything to a new phone, new email, new everything. But I kept the old phone charged just to watch the desperation roll in like waves crashing against a wall. They begged. Then they threatened. Then they guilt-tripped. It was always the same pattern. Family means forgiveness, followed by you'll regret this, followed by we need you. That's the thing they never understood. I needed them too. Once. A week after the confrontation, I went back to my apartment. It was the first time I'd seen the place since the accident. Everything was just as I'd left it, dishes in the sink, laundry half-folded, a forgotten half-empty water bottle on the coffee table. Life paused. Elijah helped me install a security system, cameras, sensors, everything. Just in case Nate got any bright ideas. And then, for the first time in a long time, I sat down in my own space. Alone. Safe. And I cried. Not from fear. Not from anger. Just pure, bone-deep exhaustion. Grief for the version of my family I thought I had. The illusion I'd been clinging to for years. The worst part? I wasn't even surprised by what they did. I'd seen the warning signs for years. Every unpaid loan. Every lie. Every time I said, it's fine, don't worry about it, and swallowed the resentment. This wasn't new behavior. It was just the first time they thought I couldn't fight back. A few days later, I got a message I wasn't expecting. It was from Vanessa, the nurse who'd helped me in the hospital. She'd gotten my contact info from Elijah with my permission. Hey, the message read. I just wanted to check in. Are you okay? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying, getting there. You saved me, by the way. More than you know. She replied, you did the hard part. I just gave you the tools. We met for coffee that weekend. Nothing romantic, nothing dramatic. Just two people sitting at a quiet table talking about life. She told me about her brother, how after a car accident, their family tried to push him into signing over control of everything. How she'd had to intervene. How she'd lost contact with most of them afterward. I saw the same look in your eyes, she said quietly. That mix of betrayal and survival. It was the first time I didn't feel crazy. Kelsey reached out again a few days later. Elijah had apparently given her my new number after I told him it was okay, reluctantly. Her text was simple, I'm starting therapy. I just wanted you to know. I understand if you never want to talk to me again. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't ready. But I didn't block her. That was progress, I guess. The thing about cutting people off, especially family, is that it doesn't feel like pulling weeds. It feels like amputating a limb. You're supposed to feel better afterward, but mostly you just feel like something's missing. I'd spent years being the guy who always picked up the phone, who bailed them out, who gave without expecting anything back. And I think deep down, a part of me believed that loyalty would eventually be returned. But it wasn't. And it never would have been. They didn't just steal from me. They stole the version of me that still believed we were in this together. I started going to physical therapy twice a week. Vanessa recommended someone who didn't take insurance but gave me a discounted rate because she vouched for me. The guy was brutal, a real no-nonsense type who didn't let me coast on excuses. But he got results. Within 3 weeks, I was walking without assistance. I started cooking again, sleeping better, smiling without faking it. It's wild how much energy you get back when you're not constantly watching your back, waiting for the next manipulation to drop. 1 month after I left the hospital, I wrote a letter. Not for them. For me. I didn't send it. Didn't plan to. But I needed to put it down. You tried to take everything from me. Not just my money, my agency, my future, my peace of mind. And for a long time, I would have let you. But not anymore. You don't get to call this a misunderstanding. You planned it. You calculated it. You executed it while I was unconscious. And the worst part? I would have given it to you. If you had just asked. That's who I was. And now? That person's gone. You didn't lose me. You threw me away. I burned the letter afterward. Felt kind of symbolic. So where am I now? I'm living in my own place on my own terms. The money's still there, untouched. And not just the savings. I got a bonus from work for returning after the accident. Apparently, they didn't expect me to come back at all. I used part of it to book my first vacation in 10 years. Just a weekend trip, nothing fancy. A cabin near a lake, no Wi-Fi, just silence. Vanessa's coming with me. She offered to bring board games and books. Said she hasn't had a real weekend off in months. Neither have I. As for Nate, Mom, and the rest, I don't know what they're doing. I don't care. I heard from Elijah that Nate might be in legal trouble with one of his betting contacts. Apparently, owing money to bookies is still a thing in 2025. Kelsey, she's trying. At least that's what it seems like. Her messages are more thoughtful now. Not asking for anything. Just checking in. I'm not ready to fully let her back in, and maybe I never will. But I think she regrets it. Maybe not deeply enough. But enough to change? Time will tell. Mom hasn't tried again. After the final round of voicemail sobbing and "I'm still your mother," I guess she finally got the message. I hope she thinks about what she did every time she opens her empty kitchen drawer. Sometimes I still wake up angry. I still replay the voices. The laughter. Nate saying he probably won't remember anything. My mom's cold calculation. Kelsey's silence. But it doesn't consume me the way it used to. Because now I've reclaimed my life. I learned something brutal but important. Blood doesn't entitle people to your loyalty. Trust isn't given. It's earned. And forgiveness? That's not owed. It's a gift. One I don't hand out lightly anymore. This isn't the story I wanted to live. But it's the one I needed to survive. So if you're reading this and thinking about the people in your life who take and take until there's nothing left, I hope you know this. You are allowed to walk away. Even if they're your family. Especially if they're your family. And if they ever look at you with wide eyes and ask, "How could you do this to us?" Look them right in the eyes and say, "I didn't. You did it to yourself."